You call it heartbreak. You name it loss. You tell yourself you are broken, wounded, incomplete. You sit in the dark of your room, replaying every moment, every word, every silence that led to this emptiness. You trace the outline of their absence like a wound you cannot stop touching. You tell yourself stories about what went wrong, what you could have done differently, what you should have said or not said. But what if I told you that what you call heartbreak is the first crack of light entering a tomb you built around your own soul? What if your pain is not your ending, but your beginning? What if this agony you feel is not the death of love, but the birth of something far more powerful? What if this emptiness is not a void to be filled, but a space that has finally been cleared for something real to grow? You have been living in a lie, the lie that love means clinging, the lie that connection means possession, the lie that your worth depends on another's presence, another's approval, another's validation of your existence. You believed that to love meant to need. You believed that to be loved meant to be chosen above all others. You believed that to lose love meant to lose yourself. You believed that your heart could only beat in rhythm with someone else's, and now that lie is dying. The beautiful, terrible lie is crumbling. The foundations of everything you thought you knew about love are shaking, and you think you are dying with it. But listen to me carefully. You are not dying. You are being born. You are not ending. You are beginning. You are not losing yourself. You are finding yourself for the first time. From the moment you drew your first breath, they taught you to fear abandonment more than betraying yourself. They taught you to call dependency love. They taught you to mistake your hunger for devotion. They taught you that a good person sacrifices, compromises, diminishes themselves for the sake of keeping others close. Your mother showed you love through worry, through constant concern, through the message that you were fragile and needed protection. Your father showed you love through providing, through fixing, through the message that your value came from what you could do for others. Your teachers showed you love through approval, through gold stars and grades, through the message that you were worthy only when you performed correctly. Your friends showed you love through inclusion, through shared secrets and inside jokes, through the message that belonging required conformity. And slowly, quietly, without you even noticing, you learned that love was something you earned, something you worked for, something you could lose if you weren't careful enough, good enough, small enough, quiet enough, accommodating enough. You learned to read the room before you spoke your truth. You learned to swallow your authentic feelings to keep the peace. You learned to twist yourself into shapes that pleased others. You learned to silence your intuition when it conflicted with someone else's comfort. You learned to apologize for taking up space. You learned to make yourself smaller so others could feel bigger. You learned to call this contortion compromise. You learned to call this self-betrayal maturity. You learned to call this soul murder love. In every relationship, you became a different version of yourself. With the intellectual, you became more serious. With the artist, you became more creative. With the conservative, you became more traditional. With the rebel, you became more wild. You were a chameleon of the heart, changing colors to match whatever background would keep you safe, keep you chosen, keep you from being alone. But look closer now. Look with the eyes of someone who has nothing left to lose. Look with the clarity that comes only when all illusions have been stripped away. What you called love was often fear dressed in beautiful clothes. What you called devotion was often the terror of being alone with the vastness of your own being. What you called commitment was often the desperate clinging of someone who believed they were not enough on their own. What you called sacrifice was often the slow suicide of someone who had forgotten their own worth. You gave your power away piece by piece, thinking you were giving your heart. You silenced your voice, thinking you were creating harmony. You abandoned your dreams, thinking you were being practical. You betrayed your instincts, thinking you were being reasonable. You dimmed your light, thinking you were being humble. You played small, thinking you were being loving. And when they left, when they chose someone else, when they grew tired of you, when they decided you were not what they wanted after all, when they said you were too much or not enough, you thought the problem was that you hadn't given enough. You thought you hadn't loved hard enough. You thought you hadn't sacrificed enough. You thought you hadn't been flexible enough. You thought you hadn't been understanding enough. You thought you hadn't been enough. But the truth is far more radical than that. The truth is far more liberating than that. The truth is far more powerful than that. Your heart is not broken. Your cage is. The bars you built from, I need you, and I can't live without you, and please don't leave me. Those bars are cracking. The walls you constructed from, I'll change for you, and I'll be whatever you want me to be, and just tell me what you need. Those walls are crumbling. The prison you created from, I'm nothing without you, and you complete me, and I can't imagine life without you. That prison is collapsing. And you mistake the sound of your prison breaking for the sound of your heart breaking. You mistake the collapse of your cage for the collapse of your capacity to love. You mistake the death of your false self for the death of your true self. The ancients knew this truth that we have forgotten in our desperate, grasping, consumer-driven world. That all attachment is suffering, but not all love is attachment. The Buddha spoke of it 2,500 years ago when he identified the root of all suffering as tanha, not desire itself, but the grasping, clinging, possessive desire that seeks to own what it loves. He taught that we suffer not because we love, but because we try to make permanent what is inherently impermanent. He showed us that freedom comes not from getting what we want, but from releasing our grip on what we think we need. The Sufi mystics spoke of it when they described the difference between the love of the ego and the love of the soul. The ego loves to possess, to control, to make itself the center of another's universe. The soul loves to liberate, to honor, to celebrate the sacred autonomy of the beloved. The ego says, you are mine. The soul says, you are free. The Greek philosophers spoke of it when they distinguished between eros and agape. Eros is the love that takes, that needs, that seeks to fill the emptiness within itself. Agape is the love that gives, that overflows, that seeks to honor the fullness within the other. Eros says, I love you because I need you. Agape says, I need you because I love you. Rumi understood this when he wrote, love is the bridge between you and everything, not the bridge that connects you to one person who will complete you, but the bridge that connects you to all of existence, to the divine, to the infinite wellspring of love that flows through you. Khalil Gibran understood this when he wrote about, "But when love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold you, yield to him, though the sword hidden among his pinions may wound you." The great poet Rilke understood this when he advised, "Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act, just once, with beauty and courage. There is a love that possesses and a love that liberates. There is a love that clings like ivy, strangling the tree it claims to embrace, choking the life from what it says it cannot live without. And there is a love that flows like water, nourishing everything it touches without needing to own it, without needing to control its direction, without needing to guarantee its permanence. There is a love born from emptiness, the desperate love of the hungry ghost who devours but is never satisfied, who consumes but is never fulfilled, who takes and takes and takes but remains forever hollow. And there is a love born from fullness, the abundant love of the sun that gives its light freely because it cannot help but shine, because its very nature is to radiate, because it would give its warmth even if no one were there to receive it. You have been drinking from the wrong cup. You have been loving from scarcity instead of abundance. You have been giving from your wounds instead of your strength. You have been offering your brokenness and calling it your heart. You have been sharing your emptiness and calling it intimacy. The philosopher Nietzsche understood this when he spoke of love as will to power. Not power over others, but power over oneself. The power to love without needing to be loved back. The power to give without needing to receive. The power to be vulnerable without needing to be protected. Your heartbreak is not tragedy. It is initiation. It is the fire that burns away everything that was never really you. It is the earthquake that brings down the false foundations so that something real can finally be built. It is the storm that clears the air so that you can finally breathe. Now I show you a different kind of love. A love that needs nothing because it is everything. A love that gives like the sun gives, not because it must, not because it expects gratitude, not because it needs validation, not because it hopes for something in return, but because it overflows with its own radiance. This is the love of the awakened heart. This is the love that emerges when you stop trying to get love and start learning to be love. This is the love that flows when you stop seeing yourself as a cup waiting to be filled and start recognizing yourself as a fountain that never runs dry. It does not ask, "Do you love me?" but "How can I love more fully?" It does not say, "Complete me," but "I am already whole, and from my wholeness I offer myself." It does not whisper, "Don't leave me," but "I bless your freedom to choose what serves your highest good." It does not demand, "Choose me," but declares, "I choose myself first, and from that self-love I choose to love you." It does not plead, "I need you," but proclaims, "I want you." And there is a profound difference between wanting from fullness and needing from emptiness. This love does not compromise itself to keep others. This love does not shrink to make space for smaller hearts. This love does not apologize for its intensity or dim its light to make others comfortable. This love does not play small to make others feel big. This love does not silence its truth to maintain false peace. You are learning to love like a river loves the earth, nourishing everything it touches, carving beauty into the landscape, bringing life wherever it flows, but belonging to nothing. Owned by no one, free to change course when the terrain requires it, free to flow wherever life calls it. You are learning to love like fire loves air, transforming everything it meets, bringing warmth and light and power, creating beauty and destruction in equal measure, but consuming nothing permanently, claiming nothing as its own, dancing freely in whatever space it is given. You are learning to love like the ocean loves the shore, constant in its devotion, faithful in its presence, reliable in its rhythm, but never forgetting its own depth, never losing itself in the embrace, never pretending to be smaller than it is to make the shore feel more significant. You are learning to love like a mountain loves the sky, reaching always toward something greater, standing firm in its foundation, weathering every storm but never trying to possess the vastness above it, never demanding that the sky stay the same color, never insisting that the clouds arrange themselves to please it. This new love arises not from your brokenness, but from your integration, not from your fear of being alone, but from your fearless friendship with solitude, not from your need to be completed, but from your recognition of your own completeness, not from your desperate hunger, but from your overflowing abundance, not from your wounds, but from your wisdom, not from your scarcity, but from your strength. In this love, you do not lose yourself. You find yourself more completely than ever before. In this love, you do not sacrifice your truth. You speak it more clearly, more courageously, more compassionately. In this love, you do not abandon your dreams. You pursue them with greater passion because you are no longer afraid of loving someone who might not support them. In this love, you do not diminish your light. You let it shine more brightly because you understand that your radiance does not diminish others. It illuminates them. You are not heartbroken. You are heart-opened. You are not losing love. You are learning what love actually is. You are not becoming less. You are becoming more authentic, more powerful, more free, more yourself than you have ever been. The person who left you could not handle this love. They could not handle your awakening. They could not handle the version of you that refuses to shrink. They could not handle the love that comes from fullness instead of need. They could not handle the person you are becoming. They could not handle the light you are beginning to shine. And that is not your failure. That is not your inadequacy. That is not proof that you are too much or not enough. That is your liberation. That is your graduation. That is life saying you are ready for something greater. But even this love must learn to die. Even this awakening must taste silence. Even this newfound power must know its own limits. Even this beautiful truth must surrender to something even more beautiful. For the deepest truth is this: all forms pass away. All relationships end in parting, if not in life, then in death. All love letters are written in disappearing ink. All promises are made by people who cannot see the future. All forevers are just very long nows. All always are just extended maybes. The mature soul knows this. The mature soul loves fully precisely because it knows that nothing lasts. The mature soul gives everything precisely because it expects nothing to remain. The mature soul holds tightly to nothing precisely because it treasures everything. The mature soul dances completely precisely because it knows the music will end. There is a season for loving and a season for letting go. There is a time for speaking your truth and a time for silence. There is a moment for fierce presence and a moment for graceful absence. There is a rhythm to all things, and wisdom knows when to dance and when to sit still. There is a tide to all relationships, and maturity knows when to flow forward and when to recede. Learn the art of conscious withdrawal. Learn to love so completely that you can release completely. Learn to be so present that you can be absent without regret. Learn to give so freely that you can walk away without bitterness. Learn to invest so fully that you can divest without resentment. Even this awakened love, this powerful love, this abundant love, even this must eventually surrender to something larger than itself. Even this wisdom must eventually bow to greater wisdom. Even this strength must eventually yield to greater strength. Even this fullness must eventually empty itself to be filled with something even more magnificent. There comes a time when even the most beautiful relationship must end. There comes a moment when even the most profound love must transform. There comes a season when even the most awakened heart must learn the art of letting go. In the silence between heartbeats, you will find your true nature. In the space between words, you will hear your authentic voice. In the pause between breaths, you will remember who you were before you learned to need anyone. In the emptiness between thoughts, you will discover the fullness that was always there. In the stillness between movements, you will feel the power that requires no action. There is a kind of spiritual maturity that knows when to engage and when to retreat. There is a wisdom that understands that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is disappear. There is a strength that comes from knowing you can survive anything, including the loss of everything you thought you needed. There is a peace that emerges when you realize that you came into this world alone and you will leave it alone, and everything in between is a beautiful, temporary gift. This is not nihilism. This is not despair. This is not giving up on love. This is the ultimate freedom. To love without attachment, to give without expectation, to be present without possession, to engage without clinging. This is the love that the masters speak of, the love that loves for the sake of loving, not for the sake of being loved back. This is the joy that needs no reason, the peace that passes understanding, the strength that comes from surrender. And when you have learned this, when you have mastered the art of loving and letting go, you will understand that you were never heartbroken at all. You were always awakening. You were always being prepared for something greater. You were always being invited into a larger love. If these words have found the crack in your carefully constructed story of brokenness, if they have touched the truth you've been afraid to acknowledge, if they have awakened something in you that has been sleeping for too long, if they have reminded you of who you really are beneath all the conditioning and compromise, then write this in the comments. I am not broken. I am breaking open. Let this be your declaration of independence from the small love you once accepted. Let this be your rebellion against the narrative that says you are incomplete without another. Let this be your commitment to the vast love you are becoming. Let this be your promise to yourself that you will never again mistake your caging for your caring. Let this be your vow to honor the awakening that is happening within you right now. But do not stop here. Do not let this awakening become just another pretty idea that you think about sometimes when you're feeling philosophical. Do not let these words become just another inspiration that fades when the real work begins. Live it, breathe it, become it, embody it, practice it, choose it again and again and again. The next time someone tries to love you from their scarcity, you will recognize it immediately, and you will have the strength to say no. The next time someone asks you to shrink so they can feel bigger, you will smile and refuse with the kindness of someone who knows their own worth. The next time someone offers you scraps and calls it a feast, you will know the difference, and you will choose to feast at your own table. The next time someone tries to make you responsible for their happiness, You will lovingly hand that responsibility back to them. The next time someone tries to convince you that you are too much, you will remember that you are exactly the right amount for the right person. Your heart was never meant to be a fortress built to keep others in and yourself safe. It was meant to be a sky, boundless, open, unafraid of storms because it contains them all, unafraid of emptiness because it is vast enough to hold everything, unafraid of darkness because it knows that dawn always comes. Your love was never meant to be a transaction, a negotiation, a compromise, a diminishment of your essential self. It was meant to be a revolution, a revelation, a force of nature that changes everything it touches while remaining utterly, magnificently itself. It was meant to be a gift that you give not because you have to, but because you want to, not because you are empty, but because you are full. The awakening continues. The love deepens. The silence calls. The truth waits. The freedom beckons. Your authentic self is ready to emerge. Answer: